London never really sleeps. Even when the city grows quiet, it doesn't rest, it only lowers its voice. Sirens echo in the distance, streetlights flicker, and buses continue their endless routes, carrying stories no one asks to hear. Among those stories was a boy named Thomas. He was 9 years old, but already understood things many adults refused to see. Thomas lived with his parents in a small apartment near the edge of the city. The building smelled of damp concrete and old paint. The heating barely worked, and winter crept inside through every crack. At night, Thomas could hear the neighbors arguing through the walls, voices breaking, doors slamming, lives colliding. His father, Mark, used to be someone else. Long ago, he had stood under bright stage lights, wearing costumes, hearing applause. He still talked about those days, always starting with, "back then." But back then never came back. The theaters stopped calling. The roles disappeared. And slowly, Mark disappeared with them. His mother, Helen, had once flown through the air. Literally. She was an acrobat in a traveling circus, twisting her body in ways that made crowds gasp. But injuries came. Pain stayed. The circus moved on without her. What remained was silence, and bills, and fear. Money was always missing, hope even more so. Thomas learned early that hunger doesn't always feel like an empty stomach. Sometimes it feels like listening to your parents whisper at night, thinking you're asleep. Sometimes it feels like pretending you don't hear your father sigh when another letter arrives. One night, Mark stood by the window, watching a red double-decker bus roll past below. "London loves a show," he said suddenly. Helen didn't respond. "They don't care what kind," Mark continued. "As long as it's different, dangerous, unforgettable." Helen slowly turned her head. She already knew where this was going, and that scared her more than saying no ever could. A week later, Thomas stood on top of that bus. The roof felt colder than he expected. The wind pressed against his small body, trying to push him away. A safety rope was tied around his waist, tight enough to hurt, loose enough to scare him. "Smile," Mark said from below. "They need to believe you love it." Thomas nodded. The bus started moving. The city stretched out beneath him like a living thing, cars rushing, people crossing, buildings watching without eyes. His legs trembled, but his face smiled. He had learned that smiling was useful. Smiling kept adults calm. People noticed. They stopped. They stared. Phones came out. Cameras rolled. "Is that a real kid? No way. That's insane." No one asked if it was right. Thomas looked down and felt his chest tighten. "If I fall," he thought, "will it hurt? Or will it be fast?" At the first turn, the bus leaned slightly. His foot slipped. His heart jumped into his throat. The rope caught him just in time. The crowd gasped. Then they applauded. "Wow. Crazy stunt. Best thing I've seen today." Mark raised his arms like a proud director. Helen stood frozen, her hands shaking. Thomas didn't cry. He didn't scream. Something inside him went quiet. The show ended minutes later. Coins clattered into a container. People smiled, satisfied. They walked away, already searching for the next distraction. No one checked on the boy. That night, Thomas lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. His body still remembered the shaking of the bus. His ears still heard the applause. He wondered something that kept him awake until morning. If I had fallen, would they have stopped clapping? The next day, the city moved on. A small article appeared online. "Unusual street performance in central London." No names, no questions. Thomas stood at the window again, watching buses pass. He didn't feel like a child anymore. He felt like part of the show, something used, then forgotten. London kept going. And somewhere in its endless noise, a boy learned that the most dangerous fall isn't from a height. It's from being seen as entertainment instead of human.